Welcome. This is the first of 3 videos about memory problems and dementia. These videos were made by doctors and other health experts working on a project called Advancing Diagnosis of Dementia in Primary Care Practice. My name is Howard Rosen. I'm a neurologist at the University of California, San Francisco Medical Center, and also the researcher who was leading this project. This first video explains what can cause memory problems, especially in older people. The next 2 videos talk about how doctors figure out what's going on and what you might learn by being part of this project. Even though these videos were made for people in this study, the information can help anyone. They explain what causes memory loss and how doctors check for it. This video is for people who are worried about memory or thinking problems, either in themselves or someone they care about. It assumes you want your doctor to check what might be causing these problems. In this video, we'll talk about different health problems that can make memory worse. We hope this helps you understand why your doctor asks certain questions and does certain tests. It can also help you work together with your doctor to get the best care. There are many reasons you might talk to your doctor about memory or thinking. You might notice that you, or someone close to you, is forgetting things. This is very common. You might also notice other changes, like having trouble understanding what people say, trouble speaking, reading, or writing, getting lost, even in places you know well, mood changes like feeling sad or acting differently, losing interest in things you used to enjoy, acting in ways that are not like you, especially in public. Doctors often ask about these changes during regular visits, but if you notice something new or different in yourself or in someone you care about, it's a good idea to bring it up. Your doctor may ask you some simple questions to learn more about how your brain is working. They may do some brief memory tests. If needed, they may want to spend more time with you to better understand what's going on. If you bring up memory or thinking problems with your doctor, there are many possible causes they will think about. Some problems start in the body but can affect the brain. For example, not getting enough vitamins, changes in body chemicals, problems with organs like the kidneys or the liver, infections or problems with the immune system. Other problems can affect the brain more directly. For example, infections in the brain, a lump in the brain called a tumor, a stroke in the brain, which is when blood can't get to certain parts of the brain. Also, mood problems like depression or bipolar disorder, which can also change how you think or feel. Your doctor will try to look at all these possibilities. If needed, they may send you to another doctor who knows more about certain problems. There are also diseases that slowly change the brain over time. These are called neurodegenerative diseases. One example is Alzheimer's disease. These diseases can cause serious problems with memory or thinking, especially in older people. That's why your doctor will also keep these in mind. You may have heard about diseases like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. These are called neurodegenerative diseases. Most people don't know exactly what these diseases do to the brain. Learning more can help you understand how doctors find them and how they might be treated. These diseases hurt tiny brain cells called nerve cells. Your brain has billions of them. They are so small you can't see them with your eyes. To see them, scientists use a special tool called a microscope. A microscope makes tiny things look bigger so we can see them clearly. In a healthy brain, nerve cells are shaped like a body with long arms. The arms help the cells talk to each other. In a brain with disease, the nerve cells get smaller. Their arms pull in, they stop working well. Some even die. When many nerve cells are damaged, the brain starts to shrink. This is something that doctors can sometimes see in a brain scan, like an MRI. We'll talk more about that in the next video. Because the nerve cells can't do their jobs, the person may have trouble thinking or doing other things the brain controls. We don't fully know why these brain changes happen to some people and not others. We do know they are more common in older people, but still, many older people do not get these changes in their brain. Scientists have studied this for many years. They believe the problem starts when tiny brain cells, called proteins, stop working the right way. Proteins are tiny helpers inside every cell. They do important jobs to keep our bodies working well. In some brain diseases, these helpers don't work like they should. They get stuck together inside or near brain cells. We know this happens because doctors have looked at people's brains after they die. In people with brain disease, they find proteins that got stuck together. Next, we'll talk about the kinds of changes that we see in Alzheimer's disease. Each brain disease seems to involve different proteins. In Alzheimer's disease, two proteins cause the most trouble. One is called amyloid beta. It forms sticky pieces outside the brain cells, like gum stuck to a surface. The other is called tau. It forms messy tangles inside brain cells, like a ball of string that got all knotted up. These stuck together proteins stop brain cells from working. Some brain cells even die. When doctors see tangles and plaques and damaged brain cells, they know it was Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's is just one kind of brain disease that harms nerve cells. It is one of the more common ones. Other common neurodegenerative diseases include Parkinson's disease and Lewy body dementia. There are also other types that are more rare. All of these diseases work in a similar way. They harm nerve cells in the brain. But each disease involves a different protein that gets stuck together. This matters because doctors need to know which protein is causing the problem. That helps them to figure out what kind of disease the person has. It can help to look at examples. Let's compare Alzheimer's to another brain disease called Parkinson's. Parkinson's is also common and it also harms nerve cells, but the problem looks different. In Alzheimer's, we see tangles and plaques made from two proteins, tau and amyloid beta. In Parkinson's, we don't see those. Instead, we see something called a Lewy body. This is a tiny lump inside the nerve cells. Lewy bodies are not made from tau or amyloid beta. They are made from a different protein called alpha-synuclein. So even though these diseases seem similar, they each involve different proteins getting stuck together. So how can doctors tell if someone has Alzheimer's or Parkinson's? It would help if we could clearly see the proteins in the brain, like tau, amyloid, or Lewy bodies. But right now, we can't always do that. These proteins don't show up on most brain pictures, like MRIs or CAT scans. A CAT scan is a special X-ray that shows shapes and changes in the brain. An MRI uses magnets to make very clear pictures of the brain. These scans can help doctors see things like shrinkage, strokes, or lumps, but they can't show the proteins that cause diseases like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. Doctors are starting to find new ways to look for these proteins, but we can't do it for all brain diseases yet. So how do doctors find out what's going on? One of the best ways is by listening carefully to the person or someone close to them. They ask about what problems started first and what problems came later. That story gives important clues about which disease might be causing the trouble. We'll explain why that works in the next slide. Now, let's look more closely at how these brain diseases work. On this slide, you could see a picture of the head. And here is the brain inside of the head. Now, we'll look under the brain. That's because many of the first changes from these diseases start at the bottom. These diseases don't affect the whole brain at once. When proteins start going wrong, they often begin in one part of the brain. Then over time, they spread to other parts. Each disease tends to start in a different part of the brain. In Alzheimer's disease, the problems usually begin in an area called the temporal lobe, shown with red spots in the top right picture. This part of the brain helps us with memory. That's why memory problems are usually the first and biggest sign of Alzheimer's disease. Then, over time, the proteins begin to affect other parts of the brain so that people can develop other problems besides memory. In Parkinson's disease, the changes usually begin in a different part of the brain called the brainstem, also marked in red on the bottom right picture. This area controls movement and balance. So, people with Parkinson's often first notice changes in how they move. Over time, the protein problems in Parkinson's disease can also affect other parts of the brain so that people can develop other problems besides movement. Doctors can learn a lot by asking the person or someone close to them about what has been happening. They ask things like, what problems have you noticed? When did they start? Have they gotten worse over time? This story helps the doctor get a good idea of what might be causing the problem. For example, if the problem has been getting worse slowly and the first signs were memory problems, that might mean Alzheimer's. If there are no problems with balance or movement, that also fits with Alzheimer's. The doctor will also do a gentle checkup in the office. They look for signs of movement problems just to be sure. Now, let's say the story is different. If the person's main trouble is with movement and memory is still okay, that sounds more like Parkinson's disease. The checkup can also help here. Doctors look for changes they often see in people with Parkinson's. In the next video, we'll explain how doctors use all of this, your story, their checkup, and other tools to figure out what kind of problem is going on. Earlier, we said it would be helpful if doctors could measure the proteins that build up in the brain. In the last few years, researchers have made a lot of progress. They found new ways to take special pictures of the brain that can show these proteins even before a person has memory problems. Most of this research has focused on Alzheimer's disease. We now have tools that can show when the amyloid protein starts to build up in plaques and when the tau protein starts to build up in tangles. These pictures have taught us something important. The amyloid protein can start building up in the brain as early as 40 or 50 years old. At first, people still think and remember normally. It doesn't cause problems right away. But after a while, the tau can start to build up too. That's usually when people begin to have memory or thinking problems. At first, these problems might be small and not affect daily life very much. If the tau keeps on building up, memory and thinking can get worse. People may start having trouble with everyday things like paying bills, shopping, or cooking. When memory problems make it hard to do everyday things, we call that dementia. Dementia means the thinking problems have become more serious. There are different causes of dementia, and Alzheimer's is the most common one. If somebody already has memory problems, and especially if they have dementia, being able to measure these proteins, amyloid and tau, can help doctors know if Alzheimer's is part of the problem. This also shows why it's important to catch memory problems as early as possible, so doctors can offer support, plan ahead, and try treatments if they are available. One big discovery in the last few years is that some Alzheimer's proteins can now be measured with a blood test. This research study includes that kind of blood test. People who are part of the study will have a chance to learn their results if they want to. But there are some important things to keep in mind. These tests are still very new, and we are still learning how well they work. The results are not always easy to understand. What they mean can depend on each person's thinking problems and other parts of their health. These blood tests can only find some of the proteins from Alzheimer's disease. They cannot find proteins from other brain diseases, like Parkinson's. This means that the results can be different for each person. That's why it's important to talk to your doctor to help understand what the result might mean for you. We'll explain more about these blood tests in the next videos. Let's go over the main points from this video. First, there are many reasons why someone might have memory or thinking problems. It's not always one thing. Second, brain problems like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's can cause these changes, but they affect the brain in different ways. Alzheimer's often starts with memory. Parkinson's often starts with movement. Doctors can't always see these problems in the brain scan. Instead, they listen to your story, what started first and how things have changed. This helps them figure out what might be going on. And now, we have a helpful new tool, a blood test that may show signs of Alzheimer's. Right now, it can't show other brain problems like Parkinson's, but it may help with some answers. We hope this video helped you learn about health problems that can affect memory or thinking. In the next video, we'll talk about what your doctor does to figure out what's going on. We hope that knowing more about these problems will help you understand why your doctor asks certain questions or orders certain tests.